So what you will do once you have the link, you'll have the Cal State University Dominguez Hills link that says CSUDH data entry. There'll be a folder with each of your names in that file. So what you'll do is I'm going to use myself as an example. You'll click on your folder name. Right now I have the screen open to the Google Drive, which would be this one right here. I took a picture of the surveys just so that I could do this and you could see the survey simultaneous with me while I enter it. I'm going to go to mine. There'll be two files in your folder. The first file will be the template itself for the data entry that you'll use to enter the data, and then the survey codebook. So if you click on the survey codebook, it'll look like this, and each question, same way that the data entry template looks like, has a code. So for question 1, right, and you could see question 1 on the survey right here on your right. For question 1, they circled yes, which is associated with the number 1, same thing as in the code. So you'll enter 1 for yes, 2 for no, right? In question 1.1, right, how many years or how long have you lived in Watts? It's 55 years. So in the code book for Q 1.1, it says enter the number only. So 55 years, you'll enter 55. If it's in months, or they say like 2.5 years, make sure you take the months and divide that by 12, right? So if it's 2 years and 5 months, it'll be 2.42. If it's 5 months, it'll be 0.42. Just make sure you do that math before you enter that code. Okay, so the code book will show you all of the codes that need to be entered into every question. So you can go all the way down. Take a look at the code book before you start doing the data entry, just so you have an idea of what the codes look like for each of the questions. You'll notice, for example, in question 7.1 through 7.16, right, it's enter the number as identified on the survey. So for 7 here, right, 7.1 through 7.16, just make sure you enter whatever the number that's circled there. And we'll go through it in just a second together so you all have an idea of what to do. Okay, so that's the code book. Go through all the code books so you understand, like I said, what codes need to be entered. And so everything should have a number unless it's left blank and it specifically says leave it blank, right? So if they did, for example, leave somewhere around question, let's say they 7.10, which would be here. Let's say they left it blank. For a question like this, and this type of question, you would make sure you leave it blank, okay? And you wouldn't enter anything. In, for example, question 6, because it needs to be checked or not checked, you need to make sure there's always a number associated with it, right? So in this case, for this particular survey, question 6, they only marked 1, 6.12 other, right? So I'm going to make sure I put not selected for 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, all the way till I get to 6.12, right? And then when I get to 6.12, I'm gonna select 1 for checked, and then 6.12 other, enter whatever it is that they put on there. Okay, so we'll go through that again together in just a second. So that's the code book. And we're going to go ahead and enter the first few questions together, and it'll give you a better sense of how to do that. So go ahead and open up your folder. The first thing you're going to want to do once you have your survey is going to make sure that on that upper left-hand corner of your survey, you print your name, your first and your last name, so we know who entered the survey. And then the survey ID is also what's going to go into your data entry Excel file, and then the date you entered it, so we know who to ask questions for if we have any questions. So I would do red 71 and survey number 008. Question 1, so question 1, they put yes, so for my codes I need to put 1. Question 1.1, it's 55 years, so I'll enter 55. Question 1.2 is not answered, and for a question like this, I will leave it blank because it's either 1 or 2. There's no other option, so it's going to have to be left blank. Question 2, is, they said yes, so that's 1. 2.1 is all qualitative, and it says your hood family lives and works here. So you'll type your hood, and yes, you need to write it exactly how you wrote it down, or how the interviewer wrote it down and how it was stated. Um, don't adjust any of that data. It's not for us to mess with. So for 3, it's yeah. So 1. For, sorry, I went too far ahead. For 3.1, they left it blank, so we're going to leave it blank. Question 4, 1 for improving, 2, 3, and 4, they put improving, so we're going to use 1. For other, we didn't select it, so we'll leave that blank. 5.1, we're going to enter them according to the numbers that they identified on the survey. So we'll do 1, 1, 1, and then 5.4 is 4, 5.5 is 1, and we're back to 6.1. So 6.1 all the way to 6.11 is going to be 2 because it's not selected. So 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Be careful when you're doing this as you're entering it, because sometimes you'll end up writing 22 and it will throw the data off later. So just be attentive to that. So they selected 6.12, so 1, and then they put NA, so NA is all we're going to write. 7.1, right? Just going to use the data according to the codebook, use the numbers that are in the survey. So 7.1 will be 2, 7.2 will be 4, and so on and so on. And so this is another page. This is the demographics page. So I'm using the demographics page real quick because for those of you entering data in Spanish, you're going to need to make sure that you look at questions 32 and 36 attentively as it's coded in the codebook, because they don't match up. So 32, the numbers here are fine in English, but in Spanish, you need to make sure you reference the codebook for what number to enter for the word that's selected. Okay, and so you'll see that in the codebook. I'll show you just really quickly so we are all clear. So if we go to, Jesus, it's long, guys, so bear with us. 32. There it is. It's a bit long. So here's the codes for Spanish. So for Spanish, it's 1 soltero, 2 casado, 3 divorciado, 4 en una relación, 5 what is it? Viuda or viudo, and 6 is otro. Those are the codes for the Spanish. They don't match the same numbers on the Spanish survey. So those of you doing work in Spanish, make sure you pay attention to that. If you're doing just the English ones, the codes and the numbers that are on the survey are fine. So same thing for 36, you'll see it in the code book. Just make sure you're attentive to those. And then if you have any questions along the way, feel free to text. This kind of gives you a good sense and a good tutorial over what to do and how to enter that data. And other than that, that should cover all of the details for it. Like I said, make sure you're paying attention to the codes and that you're entering the data, especially the written piece, accordingly. You'll notice that at the bottom, there's a tab for English and a tab for Spanish. So those of you that are doing the Spanish, which would be Nestor, Carla, Rosa, and Adelina, make sure you enter the Spanish surveys that you have in the Spanish tab. When you're done entering them, enter everything in here in Spanish. Then copy that tab, right? Duplicate it, then go to the copy of the Spanish and go ahead and translate the qualitative stuff. So anything, for example, in 2.1, which would be here, if it said, me gusta vivir aquí, just translate it over to, obviously, I like to live here. And we'll leave the Spanish raw data in the second tab alone. We'll create a duplicate and do the copy of the Spanish with the translations on there. A little bit more work, yeah, I know, but y'all will be okay with it as you move through it. Any questions, shoot me a text. You can send it to me directly if you don't want to send it to the group text. And if anything comes up, you'll have my number. Let me know what you need, and we'll go from there. So yeah, guys and gals, send that over to me by Monday morning, hopefully at the latest Monday at noon, so we can get the data over to the statistician and they can run that stuff for you. And then if you have any questions for your presentation on Tuesday, let me know, and I'll send over what I have for you. And I'll send you the link with the Google images that I have for you guys from out on the field. All right, yeah. Have a good one. Later.